Welcome to Science Force, where science comes alive. Okay, let's dive right into this. Hello, and a very warm welcome to today's explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled to be your guide as we explore one of the most common yet perfectly misunderstood surgical emergencies in the world. We're talking about appendicitis, the ticking time bomb. For decades we've been fed a very specific story. Is your appendix really just a useless evolutionary leftover, like a completely pointless little tube just waiting to cause trouble in your abdomen? Well, today we're going to completely dismantle that myth. We'll uncover the vibrant hidden secrets of this fascinating organ and look strictly at the real clinical dangers it poses when things go terribly wrong. Clinical roadmap. Here's a clinical roadmap for today. First, we'll meet your misunderstood appendix. Then, we'll look at the ticking time bomb itself, followed by spotting the alarm bells. After that, we'll do some medical detective work and finally look at defusing the situation. Part 1. Meet your misunderstood appendix. So, Part 1, let's meet your misunderstood appendix. Anatomically speaking, the appendix is a narrow, finger-like blind-ended tube. It's attached right to the cecum, which is basically the very first part of your large intestine. It measures about 5 to 10 centimeters long, averaging around 8 or 9 centimeters. I want you to literally visualize this small pouch sitting right there just below the ileocecal valve. Most commonly, you'll find it neatly tucked away in the retrocecal position, right in the lower right quadrant of your abdomen. Now here's the thing, it is not useless at all. Think of it as a biological safe house. When you suffer a severe gastrointestinal infection, say a terrible diarrhea, your normal gut microbiome gets completely flushed out, right? Well, your appendix actually houses a reserve of beneficial gut bacteria, preserved and ready to recolonize your intestine. And for our life science students tuning in, take note, it contains abundant lymphoid tissue. It actively produces lymphocytes, meaning it's absolutely crucial for the maturation of the immune system in children. Moving on to Part 2, the ticking time bomb. Now, what happens when things go wrong? The crucial point is understanding this exact sequence. Step 1 is lumen obstruction. Just imagine a blocked water pipe. The most common culprit is a fecalith, which is a hard little stone of stool or perhaps swollen lymphoid tissue trapping everything inside. Step 2 is mucus accumulation. The appendix keeps producing mucus, but now it has absolutely nowhere to drain. This leads straight to Step 3, increased pressure building up relentlessly within the walls. And Step 4, reduced blood supply, or ischemia. That intense pressure literally squeezes the blood vessels shut, severely weakening the appendiceal wall. And this brilliantly illustrates the catastrophic cascade that follows. Step 5 is bacterial overgrowth. The trapped bacteria naturally present in your gut start multiplying rapidly in that stagnant mucus. Step 6 is severe inflammation. We're talking extreme swelling, redness and pus. Step 7 brings gangrene, actual tissue death because of that persistent lack of blood supply. And finally, the ultimate danger, Step 8, perforation, a life-threatening rupture where infected pus spills directly into the abdominal cavity. It is quite literally a biological pressure cooker exploding. Which brings us to Part 3, spotting alarm bells. The absolute hallmark of appendicitis is a shifting pain. Stage 1 begins as this dull, poorly localized ache right around your umbilicus or belly button. Why there? Well, because the appendix and the midgut share the exact same T10 visceral nerve supply. But then, as inflammation spreads to the abdominal lining, we reach Stage 2. The pain shifts. If you trace your hand from your belly button down to your right hip bone, the right anterior superior iliac spine, about 1/3 of the way up is what we call McBurney's point. The pain suddenly becomes sharp, severe, and highly localized exactly there. But you see, it's not just the pain. We have crucial accompanying symptoms. Anorexia, meaning a complete loss of appetite, is a very common early sign. That's followed closely by nausea and vomiting. Now here's a very important clinical pearl. The vomiting typically occurs strictly after the pain starts. If the vomiting comes before the pain, you might just be dealing with gastroenteritis instead. You may also see a mild fever, around 37.5 to 38.5 degrees Celsius, and some confusing changes in bowel habits like constipation or even diarrhea. Alright, part 4, medical detective work. Now what's really interesting here is the physical examination. Let's do a rapid fire check. First up is the Blomberg sign. For the medical students tuning in, strictly remember this name. This is the clinical term for rebound tenderness. The doctor presses deeply into the abdomen, and when they suddenly release the pressure, bam, the pain actually worsens. This is a massive red flag indicating profound peritoneal irritation. Next is the Rolfing sign. This is a completely fascinating cross-body pain response. The examiner presses firmly on the left lower abdomen, but the patient feels the pain shoot up in the right lower abdomen. Crazy, right? It happens because you're shifting internal gas and irritating that highly inflamed peritoneum over on the right side. Then we have the psoas and obturator signs. Because the appendix can vary a bit in its exact anatomical position, an inflamed retrocecal appendix will lie directly over the psoas muscle. If you extend the patient's right hip, the muscle stretches against the swollen appendix and that elicits pain. Similarly, internal rotation of the hip rubs against the obturator internus muscle, causing pain if the appendix is sitting low down in the pelvis. It really is brilliant anatomical diagnostic work. Moving over to the laboratory. For the layman, we're essentially just looking for high white blood cells. Clinically, a complete blood count shows leukocytosis, often with elevated neutrophils actively fighting off that bacterial infection. We also check for an elevated C-reactive protein or CRP, which flags severe internal inflammation. And of course, we perform a simple urine analysis. Why? To strictly rule out sneaky imposters like kidney stones or urinary tract infections. Now, for the imaging showdown. How do we visually look inside? Well, an ultrasound is highly preferred for children and pregnant women to avoid any radiation exposure. We specifically look for an enlarged wall, anything greater than 6 mm thick. But in MCT, that is the heavy hitter. It's the most accurate test for adults, showing us the exact swelling, surrounding fat stranding, or any developing abscess. And an MRI is exceptionally useful during pregnancy when we absolutely must avoid radiation but still need a much clearer picture than an ultrasound can provide. Finally, part 5, diffusing the situation. I must speak with authoritative caution here because the dangers of an untreated appendix are absolutely severe. We're talking perforation or bursting, peritonitis, which is a diffuse, agonizing infection of the entire abdominal cavity, the formation of an appendiceal abscess, and sepsis, a body-wide state of shock that can rapidly lead to multi-organ failure. Make no mistake, peritonitis and sepsis are strict immediate surgical emergencies. So, the definitive treatment is an appendicectomy. First, we have laparoscopic surgery. This is an absolute marvel of modern minimally invasive medicine. Tiny incisions, a camera, incredibly fast 1 to 3 week recovery, and it's definitely the preferred method globally. But then there is the open appendicectomy. If that appendix has already ruptured and there is extensive peritonitis, the surgeon must open the abdomen fully to clean out the severe infection. That, understandably, requires a much longer 4 to 6 week recovery time. But let's bring this back to your daily life, prevention and gut health. While you can't completely guarantee you won't get appendicitis, you can certainly protect your bowel. Eat a high-fiber diet packed with fresh fruits, vegetables and whole grains. Drink adequate water. This keeps your stool soft and moving, preventing the formation of that dreaded fecalith obstruction we talked about. Also, exercise regularly. And if you happen to live or travel to endemic areas, treat intestinal parasitic infections promptly. Which brings us to our final provocative thought. Could it be the high-fiber meal you eat today be the exact thing that stops your appendix from becoming a ticking time bomb tomorrow? It's entirely possible. Look after your gut health, my friends, and it will look after you. Thank you so much for joining me on this Clinical Explainer. Keep learning, stay healthy, and I will see you next time.
Thank you for watching Science Force.